Hi, I'm Chris, and this is Ellen, and we're excited to talk to you about the RallyWagen, which for 2021, we're converting to a race car, and we're officially dubbing our Dub the RaceWagen. We're going to enter the RaceWagen in the 2021 NASA Pro Racing Series as a grassroots entry in time trial and HPDE.
So Chris here is actually our resident race car driver as well as instructor with NASA. So he's going to be teaching me the basics of racecraft as well as car control, since I've never driven on a racetrack before. So while he competes in the time trial, I'm going to be going through the High Performance Driver Education Training, HPDE. So we're going to be documenting my progress as a driver as well as the car's progress to see how well it goes from daily driver to track car.
We want to show how easy it is to change your daily driver into a track-capable car, featuring a lot of our in-house products. We want to be sure that whatever we do convert still retains that street ability for daily driving.
So in order for us to do this, we're going to take some parts right out of our warehouse here at ECS. So first up, we've got H&R coilovers and sway bars. This is going to be the most important part of our build since it sets up the car to really handle high-speed turns, but won't compromise your daily driving. We also have our ECS monoballs to tighten things up. To keep us cool on the track, we're going to install our ECS front mount intercooler as well as CSF all aluminum radiator. And IABED has also kindly provided us with some extra oil management kits to really future-proof the car.
To cut some weight, we're going to add the ECS Tuning titanium exhaust, and then Hawk has provided some HP Plus pads for the front and HPS pads for the rear because you don't want too much rear bite in a front-wheel drive car. We're going to pair those with our in-house rotors, and of course Liqui Moly has come through with fluid flushes for everything. For wheels, we're going to stick with a very streetable set of 18-inch wheels, and then our partners at Tire Source have provided tires to wrap them in. We're also going to do a very race car inspired vinyl wrap for the whole car.
The car actually hasn't been touched since it's landed back here in the US, so our lead R&D tech Matt is going to do a thorough inspection of the car to see if there's any worn out OEM bushings, wheel bearings, anything that might need some attention before we track the car that your car at home most likely won't need unless you took it across South America.
On my inspection of the car after we decided to take on this project, I found quite a few things wrong with it. The car drove all the way to South America, so obviously there's going to be some items that have had some wear and tear on them. One of the big things is basically all of the wheel bearings are shot. A couple of the front ones have some play in them. The rear ones don't have any play yet, but have some Brinelling in the bearings, so they are actually causing like a roaring noise when they're spinning. So both rear wheel bearings need replaced, both front wheel bearings need replaced. Pretty much all the brakes need replaced, they're pretty wore out. A lot of the suspension bushings are shot. We have some prototype monoball bearings on the front control arms and the rear trailing arms. And I'll be replacing the lower control arms and the pressed in rubber bushings in the knuckle at the outer location of the lower control arms. Obviously an oil change is in order. That's kind of all we're going to do as far as the engine goes.
Hey guys, we're here in the shop to show you how to install these H&R coilovers. Matt went ahead and set up the rest of the car, but we're going to show you these ones. Chris, what do we have here?
So this is our coilover from our partners over at H&R. It's a variant on their RSS Plus racing coilover, so specific for our application, valved for the MK7 GTI, as well as spring rates for the MK7 GTI.
Perfect.
Speaking of springs, you'll see this little helper spring up top. That just keeps us, when the suspension's at full droop like it is right now, there's no load on it.
Right.
You notice this spring has no slop in it, which means as it comes back to compress when we're taking a corner, for example, you don't have to wait for something to slap or engage. It keeps a nice, firm, planted ride. It's also an inverted monotube. On this coilover, the piston's at the top. What that does, it lowers our center of gravity a little bit, helps with some stiction issues, and also adds some rigidity to the suspension components just by relocating where that piston goes into the body. On top, we have the adjustable camber plates. And again, for our purposes, we're just gonna leave these dead middle. We don't know how the car is gonna perform yet, so we wanna leave some adjustment to either add camber or reduce camber, depending on the performance of the car. Then on the bottom, we have the adjustable dampening. So these come from H&R full stiff. So if you're buying these, that's a good note that these are set to full stiff when you receive them. We have ours dead middle. So similarly, as we see how the car performs on track, we may need to add or subtract some rebound or something to just help with our traction goals for each racetrack.
Cool.
And that's about it. Of course, as a coilover, adjustable ride height, we have all of them set to dead middle, and we'll see where the ride height is when we put it on the ground. You're gonna feed in the top hat, and from the top, I'll add the nuts. The things to think about are these are the end links from H&R. They're gonna bolt with their sway bar, also from H&R. All this stuff is made in Germany, for the record, so German vehicle, German manufacturing, match made in heaven. But see how there's a 90-degree angle to the sway bar end links?
Yep.
This tab will receive one of the ends of the end links, and then the sway bar will receive the other end of the end link. So when you offer it in, the tab needs to be on the inside, like this, and look at your camber adjusters. This plate will rotate. So if something looks funny, once you set it in there, you can just rotate it as I put the nuts on, and we'll make sure that the tab and sway bar end link align.
Perfect.
So go ahead and feed it in there. You got one of them. Okay, perfect. Let me thread the nuts on.
Looks like it's actually already at the right angle.
Yeah, that's pretty darn close. So next we'll add the knuckle on. And this is actually a really awesome moment to talk about this tool. You guys will notice we have this socket in here. This is the RallyWagen spreader tool. It's specifically made for these knuckles. So you see how there's the slit in here. You have to spread that to get the shock body in and out. And this tool is oblong and offset. So right now, Matt has it locked in there for us. So there's an extra bit of spread so that the shock can fit in.
Right.
So we'll go ahead and feed that on. I'll hold the brake line out of the way.
Never done this before.
And you can move it around a little, yep.
Oop.
A little more, I got this. There we go, there we go.
Okay, I got you.
And then go ahead and put those nuts. I'll angle everything in. Go ahead and put the lower ball joint in the holes on the lower control arm. So we have to kind of simultaneously feed that in there.
So,
just like that, like this way.
oh man, she's stiff. I'm sweating.
There.
Okay.
Okay, now before we tighten everything down and before we take that RallyWagen tool, that spreader tool out, you want to be sure that this is all
Aligned.
Yeah, aligned. Easiest way to do it is just note that the H&R sticker needs to face completely out.
Got it.
Okay, go ahead and thread the nuts on. The sway bar end links have this ball joint. It's really stiff because it's not supposed to like totally move.
Right.
And this spacer comes on and spaces it off the tab on the shock body.
Okay.
And then it'll come down here to the sway bar. And this is loose right now because we don't have anything on the other side. So I'll put the top up if you put the nut on the back side.
Yep.
Just get that out of the way. After 2 days of street driving, we realized we had an issue. We put the sway bar end link from H&R on backwards. So we had it in the car this way. While the suspension was at full droop and the steering wheel was at full lock, all the tolerances looked fine. But as you see here, got a little bit of grooving in the end link. That's from this tab coming right off the chassis. So we realized we have to flip the end link and put it in this way. So we're gonna tighten that up and put it back on, but it's a good moment to pause and say, don't just build a whole car and think you can throw it on the racetrack overnight. You have to street drive it. Ellen's gonna be street driving us around town today to get used to this really heavy clutch. So leave yourself some time to shake down these kinds of...
Is it supposed to catch like that?
Yeah, oh, that's another good point. So our nuts are Nylock nuts. And on some factory suspension components, you may have a castle nut with a cotter pin that goes in and locks it in place. But the beauty of the Nylock is once it's tight, it's tight. So you'll only be able to get it so far on by hand.
Makes sense.
And then we're gonna go on the inner setting on the bar to start. Again, that may change as we...
So is the first hole looser or stiffer? Or
it will add leverage. So your sway bar works like a arm or like a jack, right? Like the longer the jack handle, the easier it is to jack it up. So the longer the sway bar where you mount it to, the softer it'll be. Everything is loosely hand tightened in here. We're gonna remove that Schwaben spreader on the back of the knuckle. Cool. So I'm gonna have you lift up and you're gonna feel it. There's a notch in the knuckle where the shock body rests at full, at full like lock. So you hold it up there and I'll go around back and get the extractor out, or spreader out. Yep.
Good hand placement.
All the way up on the against the notch?
Yep.
There we go.
Let go.
Let go. See how it doesn't droop anymore?
Yep.
That's how clever this tool. It's a good opportunity to get a close-up of the tool too. You see how it's keyed and it's like oblonged? So you put it in vertical down the split and then you rotate it and it spreads that collar out. Now we're on to like the final assembly. Because we have the fortunate use of a lift, we're gonna do the top of the shock first, lift it up, and then we'll go ahead and do the bottom. Torque wrench. It has two different scales. It has Newton meters on one side and foot-pounds on the other. All the Volkswagen torque specs are Newton meters. For the top nuts here, it's gonna be 15 Newton meters for tight. So we just pull the collar down, set this to 15, so you see the graduations.
Yep.
Now it's locked in, and then it works just like any other ratchet. So just put it on, tighten, and you'll feel it click. Hopefully you'll be able to hear it on camera, but you'll feel it click, and that's when you're done. Cool. Try and get all of them a little bit tight before you get to the total torque, and then reach torque spec for all of them. And actually, pro tip, just soften the torque spec a little bit. So now it's gonna click before you get there, and then we'll do a final pass.
Okay.
There you go.
Cool.
So we'll do the pinch bolt now. You have your 14 mil triple square, which you'll put on the bolt head. Okay. I have my 19 mil on the torque wrench that I'll do on the nut on the backside. And this one we're doing to 70 Newton meters plus 180 degrees. So you did 90 on the strut tower, 180 would be a complete half revolution.
Got it.
So that is the right torque spec. And now because I have limited range, I'm gonna go from here to here, that'll be 90, and then I'll do that again, and that will be 180.
Okay.
It's gonna be probably pretty hard for you to hold here.
Okay.
And then one more.
Oh okay. Yeah, that was hard for me to hold.
And then one more tip, and this is especially as race cars are concerned, but I do this on all my street cars too.
Same.
Is after I torque something, I mark it. Yeah. So that when we're trackside changing a tire, we can see if this yellow mark is still lined up when we go to check brakes, change a tire or whatever, and we know something is shifted. Right. Moving on to the sway bars, I realized I misspoke. The locking nut on the collar back here is actually 18, and the new Nylock nuts from H&R are a 19. So we're gonna do 19 millimeter at 65 Newton meters. And then you'll put the crescent wrench on the inside of that stud like we showed in the beginning so that I can tighten the nut while you hold the bolt.
So close to my face.
I could actually probably just do this.
I got it.
You sure? All right. I just
want to be
feel like you're
in some
gonna
way.
need some teeth here in a second.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
Give it a double tap just to make sure. Okay. And then same thing up top, which should be a lot easier. Ready? Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool. And then same as all the others, paint marker. This one will be a little easier to see.
So for the lower ball joint nuts, we're gonna use a 16. It's gonna be 40 Newton meters and 45 degrees. So These are already pretty tight, actually. I tightened them pretty well with my fingers.
You got that Guten tight finger strength.
Yeah. Yeah, those are already pretty tight.
Okay, switch out.
Thank you. You already said it?
Yep.
Okay. And then 45, so what?
Yeah, I'll put my hand there and you just go to that.
Maybe. Is that close enough?
Yep, there you go. That'll do.
Those are pretty tough. Maybe. From there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool.
And the best part.
Where do you want the mark on the back one?
Just any place that you can see it. We'll have the car up in the air and all over the place, so really anything should be fine.
Okay.
So the last part is going to be our axle nut. We won't really be able to torque this on the rack because the other wheel is free spinning, because it goes to 200 and then another 180 degrees after that. You'll see the axle now gets sucked into the hub. A little square there we go. That's about all we're going to be able to get with everything on the lift. I'm going to hold it. That gives us a chance while it gets on the ground, and then like I said, once we have all the wheels on, take a center cap out, put it on a torque wrench, and get the rest of the torque.
Right.
Don't forget about your ABS sensor wire and clip. It is definitely easier to do everything we did with that disconnected, but now that we're moving on to brakes, it is a good time to reconnect it so we have ABS on the racetrack. We're moving on to brakes, which is exciting because it now looks like a real wheel well. Ellen's gonna put the rotor on. We'll use the set screw to make sure everything hangs on appropriately. Give her a little, oh, you gotta line the set screw up with the hole.
Ah, that would probably help.
Which is gonna be over there. And then it's just a T30, nothing fancy, it'll go on hand tight. Okay, that keeps it nice and locked. So we're just gonna wipe the rotor down with brake clean because in shipping they have a little oil coating to keep them from oxidizing or corroding. Be sure to get the backside too. Good?
Yeah.
All right, caliper carrier will go on next. Okay, I'll put the caliper carrier on and you can just thread the bolts in.
Well, this one needs to come down this way. Not sure where we're at. Yeah, it's in there. Okay. Did you run yours all the way or just?
No, just a little bit. I want to be sure you got yours on.
Yep.
Give them a little jiggle, always helps finish seating them. And then we'll finger tight, Guten tight them again.
Guten tight then?
Yeah, that's an official torque spec. It is one
Guten tight.
one Guten tight. Okay, our carrier to spindle bolts are gonna be 200 Newton meters and a 21 millimeter. You gonna give me a hand and pull that, Ellen?
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard.
Just need a better angle.
Do one more click just to make sure. But we'll go to the top one first and then we'll come back and just get another click on each.
Okay.
I'm gonna come around and hoss it over here. Okay, next up is the Hawk HP Plus pads. Super excited for these, super meaty boys. We'll lube everything up, put them in the carrier, and then we'll put the caliper on and those pins will get torqued to 35 Newton meters. To grease it, I'm gonna just put a little bit of grease in the groove, just enough. You don't want it to slap onto the rotor. And then we'll also grease the mating surface of the caliper. You only need to grease the contact surface with those fingers. A lot of people will put it on the whole pad. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that other than you're just gonna have extra grease floating around your bay.
Right.
So I'll usually actually put it on the caliper and then on the caliper piston.
Can I squeeze it right on and then smear it around?
Smush it on with your finger so that you don't get too much everywhere. Because like I said, you wanna not get any on the rotor surface. And these are nice clean carriers, so we probably won't have any issues, but just better safe than sorry.
It's like frosting.
Yeah, it's like frosting. It doesn't taste as good as
Except for
frosting.
I don't want to eat it. How much is too much or how little is too little?
Yeah, a little, that's probably okay. No, that's probably okay. You don't want to schlep it all once you got on the piston.
Haven't put any.
There too.
Around the black rubber?
No, the metal, yeah, the metal piston that'll touch the back of the pad.
Got it.
Here's a little brake cleaner on a rag for you. Sorry, that just got in your eyes.
No, you're good. I have gotten it in my eyes though before. It's not fun.
So I'm really excited for the HP Pluses. It's a good street and track pad. The pins will just ride in the grooves that we just greased up. So you sort of just feed them in. They need a little bit of encouragement to go in because you don't want them rattling around on you. And there you go. I'll do the same on the other side. And then we'll add the greased up caliper once I get this in. All right. And you've got the Hawk lube on the fingers and the piston.
Yep.
Grab those, I'll hold it up and you go ahead and put the bolts in up top. I'll hold the collar.
One.
Good. And then it's a 17 for the collar and a 13 for the bolt that goes into the pin. And the torque spec on that is, can you read that off?
200. Oh,
The
for
other
the
one.
pins,
Yeah.
for 35.
35. And give it one more click. Okay.
Oh, my foot.
Okay, and we'll paint marker those two. Okay, this is our in-house ECS stainless steel braided brake line. It comes with the washers and bolt and bleeder cover so that you can have a complete install on your car as well. It'll just stiffen everything up from as compared to the rubber hoses from the factory. So take these two washers, put one on the bolt. Yep. And one, and then it'll go through like that.
What, like this?
Other way. So one washer on either side. Yep. Perfect. And then you'll pull the yellow cork out of the caliper and insert that. I'll hold it together so you don't drop the washers. There you go, coming down.
There.
Okay.
Okay.
And then this will locate the brake line. It passes through the bracket. And then we have the pin from the factory brake setup that will just hold it in the bracket. And then last step is it'll go up into the brake line here where we have that stop off. And then another clip will hold it all in. So we're gonna get a little bit of brake leakage, so I'm just gonna have you take that blue clamp off and then I'm gonna try and quickly make the two together.
Okay. Say when.
Ready when you are.
Okay.
Okay. And then same as the other side, the clip goes in. And that is that. We'll tighten that down. We'll bleed it with the Hawk HP 520 brake fluid for those high temp track applications and call it a day. Okay, that pretty much wraps up our project for the day. We have the H&R coilover installed, we have the H&R sway bar installed, we have those H&R end links installed. Again, everything's made in Germany, fits really well. I'm really pleased with how that turned out.
So the brakes are done as well. We got our ECS rotors as well as ECS brake lines, Hawk pads, and then Matt will do a full brake bleed with our Hawk fluid, and then we can take it for a drive.
Yeah, shake it down on the street and see what we want to set up for the track.
Compared to this one?
Yeah.
Sorry. God.
Edit that one out.
God, those brakes, they scare me.